Opposition legislators in Haiti moved to block the ratification of a new prime minister. And in sport, West Indies captain Jason Holder repeats calls for consistency from his team. I'm Ricardo Robertson. This is Caribbean in 10 for Wednesday, August 21st. I'll be back with the details after the break.
Today we are here at Pigeon Point Heritage Park for the Empowering Emancipation Day celebrations. It's a day when Trinidad and Tobago commemorates the abolition of slavery. It also marks the close of the Tobago Heritage Festival.
This is what Washington has become. They write the narrative. Right. They want people to believe, knowing that the truth is going to come out. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, or 2 months later, that the fact that maybe it not have the same impact. But isn't it leaving out information just as dangerous and corrupt as it is including it?
My friend Chris Plant has the morning show here in D.C., and he says one of the most insidious powers of the media is not to cover a story.
Opposition legislators in Haiti are making a move to block the ratification of Prime Minister-designate Fritz William Michel. The legislators have called on the President of the Chamber of Deputies, Gary Bourdieu, to postpone all activities related to the presentation of the Prime Minister and his cabinet to the Chamber of Deputies for his statement on general policy scheduled for Friday. Michel, a former executive in the Ministry of Economy and Finance, is the fourth Prime Minister named since President Moise became the head of state in 2017. He has named an 18-member cabinet equally divided between men and women. But in a letter sent to Bourdieu yesterday, the 8 opposition legislators made reference to an August 6 appeal filed against the judgment of discharge on May 23rd in favor of Fritz William Michel in a tax matter. The opposition legislators are contending that the appointed Prime Minister did not have a discharge for the period 2009 to 2011, where he was Chief Accountant at the Directorate General of the Budget of the Ministry of Economy and Finance, which makes him ineligible to be Prime Minister. The Chamber of Deputies is due to meet later today to resume the attempt by opposition legislators to debate a motion aimed at impeaching President Moise after a second attempt last week failed to materialize. Trinidad and Tobago's Commissioner of Prisons, Gerard Wilson, says the nation's prisons are in chaos and the situation has reached crisis point. TV6's Joshua Simonga reports.
With an increase in death threats against prison officers and their families, Prisons Commissioner Gerard Wilson says officers are dealing with the very worst our society has to offer, with little to no protection. He claims the situation is now untenable.
We have the same type of behavior from outside entering the prison, so that there are some very influential persons who come into the prison and still try to manipulate and you know, send threats to officers. And to be honest with you, I feel at this time that officers are more afraid of not complying to those influential inmates than going before tribunals.
According to Wilson, the country has to come to the realization that it's not just the lives of some prison officers at stake, but also that of their families. Saying that the prison service has done all it can internally by implementing commissions and boards, the commissioner says this quote-unquote crisis requires urgent intervention. The call comes after several gunshots were fired at the Pleasantville home of a prison officer on Sunday.
And I know that the prison service, I am totally fed up of it. I am looking at the prison service now as the new punching bag, in the sense that as soon as inmates are uncomfortable about anything, then they target the prison service. In fact, it was said by one inmate that when things happen, whether it's a director from the police or whether we get information from the intelligence community, the prison officers will be targeted.
The Minister of National Security, Stuart Young, has issued a press release encouraging a multi-agency approach to counter crime coming from the nation's prisons. Young sought to assure the prison service that it has the full support of the government.
Jamaicans are being warned to brace for more water shortages as worsening drought conditions continue to take a toll on major catchment facilities. The National Water Commission, NWC, said the direct disruptions would affect consumers in northeastern parishes, estimated at more than 1 million people, as 29 of its systems in St. Anne, Portland and St. Mary are affected by the dry spell. It warned that with some sources completely dried up, it's a challenge for it to effectively service its customers in these parishes. The NWC said that as a result, several mitigation measures have been implemented, including supply regulation, pressure management, storage building and trucking. Now, Jamaica is among several Caribbean countries facing drought situation. The Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology has warned that drought conditions in the region will continue in several countries until next month. And stay with us, your Midday Sport is next. West Indies captain Jason Holder is repeating calls for his team to be consistent. The Windies face India in the opening test at the Vivian Richards Cricket Ground, hoping to end their wretched record against the visitors, which has seen them without a single test win in nearly 2 decades. Now, speaking at the recently held Weeper Awards, Holder stressed the importance of the team playing as a collective.
I think we just want to be consistent. We've had a really good start to the year, obviously, and I think this group has been closer knit for the last 2.5 years. There've been 1 or 2 players dropping out and 1 or 2 players coming in, but I think the nucleus of the squad has been the same, and I think that speaks well for the performance of the team. And I just think for us, we just got to take it stage by stage. I try not to get too far ahead and just nail in on the process. I always speak about the process in the group, and we've been doing a lot of talking as a group, and I'm just trying to put together our heads and find solutions to many problems which we face. I think that's the mantra for most teams per se. Just look for solutions, and look for solutions not only as individuals, but as a group.
Over to football now. The little-known Trinidadian Andre Fortune scored twice as North Carolina FC reeled off their 3rd win in 4 outings with a 5-0 crushing of Pittsburgh Riverhounds SC in the United Soccer League last weekend. Now, playing at the Salen Stadium in WakeMed Soccer Park in Cary, North Carolina, the United States-born 23-year-old Fortune put the hosts ahead on the brink of halftime before scoring again in the second half rout. The victory sends North Carolina 5th in the standings on 43 points, level on points with 4th place Indy 11, and now just 4 points adrift of Eastern Conference leaders New York Red Bulls 2. With the defeat, Riverhounds remained 6th on 41 points after suffering their first defeat in 5 outings on the heels of 4 straight wins. That's Caribbean in 10. Join us again at 6:30 for Caribbean Newsline. Until then, good afternoon.